free trip to the renewal. But we will. Are we taking a break? No. But we are now jumping into. I'm going to. Nope. Eat local. Nope.
Oh boy.
We're jumping into Eat Local with Konris Maynard. Welcome.
Welcome, sir. How are you doing?
We're doing.
Pleasant good morning to yourself and your listening public.
You came just in time.
Just in time.
Well, that's how we have to be.
Amali wore his good shirt for you today, actually.
No.
I see that.
Well, yes.
A bit more mature.
Yes. Refined. Well, yeah, we're just talking about, the renewal of wedding vows in November that Dreamia and the Ministry of Tourism
Okay.
are putting together. So perhaps that's something that you and the First Lady can look into.
Of course. Well, what about yourselves? You
I'll get married first.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
It's not in the works?
Konris been on this talk with me for years, so I ain't gonna do
A
it.
joke?
Yeah,
Why?
none of us in here have people that actually want to marry us.
That
so.
is not
Jade,
true.
liar.
That is not
So who
true.
has somebody that wants to marry
Fellow
us?
leaders.
But literally off of your house.
The problem
marriage.
is that you have too many options. That's the problem.
Oh.
That's the problem.
The man is a scholar.
A gentleman, a scholar indeed.
Indeed.
Anyway.
Yes. So talk to me.
Well, I want to go out on a limb and assume that everyone listening knows who you are, but
Right, you want
in
me
the
to
event
introduce
that they
myself,
don't,
Yes, I don't take
the
that for
one-off.
granted at all.
yeah,
Yes. Yes, so I am Konris Maynard. How much am I supposed to say?
As much as you can.
I'm Konris Maynard. Let's see, I'm a husband, I'm a father, I'm a citizen of St Kitts and Nevis. I am an artist, meaning a cultural artist. One form is calypso. I am a politician. I love my country. I don't know what else I could add. I guess you could ask questions to bring forth answers. So you tell me.
Let's dive into firstly your passion or your love, or I don't know if you'd call it a career. I guess so, to an extent, in music, in culture.
Right.
You are a multiple time holder of the calypso, monarch. Crown.
And
so come on now.
Me, I'm sure. Remember, walk away. Yeah. We talk about that the other day. So tell us how you got into music.
Right.
And your journey on that.
Yeah. Well, music has always been a major part of my family. Way back when I used to sing. I don't know if you guys know a lady by the name of Dorothy Martin. And mature lady, and when I was a little boy, I think she probably heard me sing somewhere, and she used to invite me to all these concerts in the church and so on, etc. I had sang a rendition of On Top of Spaghetti at 4 years old in preschool. I think maybe that's what she saw, and then from then I started performing by age 6. At that time, my father, of course, was a calypsonian. My uncle was a calypsonian. That's the mighty content and the mighty director. My mom sang in the choir. And so music was all around. My other uncle, my mother's brother, played in the church and played in a band and so on, etc.
Musical family.
Yes. And so at age 6, I composed my first calypso. Then about age 10, that was my first unofficial calypso. And then at about age 10, I wrote my first official calypso, which was recorded on my dad's album and so on. I performed around. It was called Cool School. So that's 93 or so thereabout. That brought me some sort of little popularity. I said, I could do this thing and so on. And then a few years later, at age 12, with the help of my mother, surprisingly, because my father wasn't on the island at the time, when I wrote for the same Cool School, and then I decided to go into the Junior Calypso competition at about age 12, and I came first runner-up that year.
Outrageous.
outrageous, unbelievable. And I was determined that ain't happening again.
So wait there. So that's the one time you ever lose?
One time ever.
So who beat you? I want to know.
One time ever lose in Calypso in St Kitts. That was Mighty Hollywood out of Nevis.
Oh,
He
Hollywood.
still sings. Yeah.
Wow.
So he beat me that year. I sang a song, we got a fight. I think he sang a song about love. So I sang about fight, he sang about love. Love wins. The next year, though, I came back again and won the crown twice back to back.
In the Macazimo.
Yeah. And then, I didn't do too much of that, did some acting and so on, because I really love the arts, drama and those kind of things. Won a few best acting prizes. I don't know if Azem remember that.
Yeah.
Actually, my wife and I acted in a play in first form where she was
Well.
where she was my wife, I was her husband.
Wow.
At,
Premonitions.
at that time,
And it got to your head.
we had no interest in each other at that time. I mean, I'm pretty sure she didn't like me at that time. I'm absolutely positive. But anyway, later on, I started messing around with music, arranging. My father had bought a keyboard. I used to go classical training actually by Huldah Lawrence, but unbelievably, I wasn't that much interested for some reason.
Right.
When I look back now, I
Constricted.
said, I said to myself, if it's one thing I wish my father or my mother really pushed me in is maybe to stay in the classical training part. So I kind of dropped out and so on, so didn't pursue it. But I had an ear for music, and so I started messing around. My dad had bought us a keyboard. I started playing around with making arrangements. I had gotten that because when I was doing my own junior calypso songs, when I went by the arranger who was Odell Brown at the time, he had given me inspiration. I saw how he did things, and so I started messing around arranging. And so by the late 90s, I started arranging for other calypsonians like my uncle and so on, etc. Even before I started singing, I was arranging calypsos for my father, for my uncle, and for other calypsonians around St Kitts and Nevis. So I got a studio, started recording tracks. We actually did an album that didn't have on any calypso. I did reggae.
I was about to ask about the hit reggae song
Come out.
in high school.
So, I was just messing around with the music and so on, etc. And then while in university, I said, actually it was a summer here. I think it was the summer of 2005, I was messing around with some melodies and so on, and that melody for Sunday Juve came, and I said, you know what, I'm gonna go for the national, and from there, 2005 started arranging, producing calypso, soca's and so on, and that's basically my journey. Well, a synopsis of my journey in music. Yeah.
The first crown. Mm-hmm. When was that, and what was the track?
That was Boys in Danger. That's juniors or
No, it's
nationals.
national monarch.
So national was 2005, and that was Sunday
Sunday
Juve
Juve,
and
classic.
Strangeland. Right, so that was the first one. That year I also won the Party Monarch with Sunday Juve.
Okay.
Yeah, so 2005 was when it started. It's hard to believe that's 15 going on 16 years ago. It's
Wow.
unbelievable.
Wow.
Crazy.
It means I'm getting old and that I don't feel so,
That's good.
That's good.
I feel so. And I'm sure you have me
Because
by at least 8
I
years
can't
also.
imagine that is 15 years ago. And it's unbelievable as well. I have not released a new song. This year is going to make 9 years.
Crazy.
Wow.
That's unbelievable.
So I went to correct
That's
that.
a
or?
travesty, actually.
Yeah, actually, it is. And I'm trying
is
to correct
outrageous.
that. Yes, absolutely. I'd have to correct that.
Look, every Konris tell me, man, send me some music. Every single year.
And up to now, you send me anything?
But
You ain't
not
send me
personally,
anything.
not personally, but I've
But you
had
have
people
things
send it.
sent.
Right?
I've had people send the music
He want yours.
and nothing. Oh, okay.
So
That's
Azem
what
is
it
the hold up basically.
He's the whole up.
Wow. The catalyst boy.
That's
the
really
whole up. I tell he got a partner. I tell him, look, give me a track. Let me see something, because usually all my tracks I've done myself. So I said, let me see what these guys. I mean, Azem is you must know, he's an extraordinarily talented human being. I mean,
Watch it, right?
his
The man them
talent.
Was that the Konris?
Man, I maybe get one little pampinampy thing. You know,
From Azem? I can't believe he
not
treated
from
you like
Azem, not from Azem, but a colleague of his sent me a pamphlet. It was just, you know.
that. So still nothing
But
from
I,
Yeah, it
Azem.
wasn't
I
even you.
need, I need something. Yeah.
So I'm to blame.
I'm
Yes,
putting him
Azem.
on the
You need something of
challenge
substance,
now.
as in
Okay, I'm on it.
something of substance to tingle his musical tinglies.
Definitely.
Musical chords.
Yes, yes, exactly. So the first crown was in 05 with,
Yes.
with Sunday Juve and Strangeland. And you went on doing a crown again the year after that, I believe.
Right, so I won 4 consecutive. So
Yeah.
2005, in 2006, it was Miss Melody and Hold On to Your Crown. Now, Miss Melody taught me a lot of things about Calypso, right? Because in 2005, when I won with Sunday Juve, I had not paid attention to the score sheet when I was writing that song. But how I knew that I could win is when I did look at the score sheet and I looked at the song. I said, "Wow, I really have a chance here." And so I said, "Let me go with Strange Land to thing." I said, "I really have a chance here." But in 2006, when I did Miss Melody, I was too focused on the score sheet.
Yeah, you
and
got-
so I wrote a song to fit the score sheet to know that for sure I'm going to win. And yes, I did win, but it taught me that in terms of the Calypso art form and music in general, etc., it's not just about the technicalities and dynamics and meeting the criteria and so on, but it's also the connection of the music with the people. And so although criteria, based on the criteria, Miss Melody is a great song in terms of how it's written, the music, and so on, etc. It is not necessarily this song that will captivate the audience as much.
Yeah, connect.
And so the third year when I went back, I had those two experiences to be able to write strong criteria songs and songs that connect with the audience.
Yeah.
You got a bit too technical.
Yeah.
And it lost.
Yeah.
Surgical,
It's
scientific
bad.
with it.
Yeah.
But-
Yeah.
Lessons learned.
Yeah, absolutely. So we did 4 crowns back to back.
And year 3 was what?
Sorry?
And the year 3
Year
was?
3 was one song
Ah,
and Sleeping Tiger.
Classics.
Yeah, and then year 4 was Trophy Case, which is Talk, 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 and Mommy and Daddy, which is a ballad about, wayward youths and so on. And in that time, I would have won Party Monarch and twice, I think. Party Monarch twice, one with Sunday Juve and another one with, I think is Walk Away.
Walk Away, it was the...
Not feeling good. I didn't win with feeling good.
Yeah, I remember, yeah,
So when
Feeling
was
Good,
that? When was Unstoppable Force?
So Unstoppable Force now, so that's 2005 to 2008, 5, 6, 7, 8. I took a break from competing in Calypso in 2009 and 2010, and in 2010 I focused on Unstoppable Force. So I said, I hadn't soca songs before, but I never pushed to get road match, just did them. And so I said, this year I'm gonna push for road match with Unstoppable Force.
Right.
If they were to ever change the national anthem, that probably would be the next up. Because
Well, I'm honored that you would say that, but there are other songs as well that not from me, but which I think are some really, really great patriotic songs, and they have given me inspiration, and I actually have a patriotic song that am I supposed to say? Yes, that I'm working on right now.
Exclusive.
We'll see.
Exclusives. We like exclusives here.
Yeah. Oh well, I wasn't prepared for an exclusive.
But
Let's sing a quick verse on that.
Just, no, man, when you release these things, that's the one thing. Okay, I sang a song, finished the song, right? And that song is really, really true. I have material that is there and so on, but to finish it, it takes, I go through this, I go through that, and so on, etc. Because when you hear it, I want it to, make a lasting impression.
Right.
And by giving sneak previews, sometimes you could,
the spoiler.
get rid of the shock factor and so on.
So you were writing songs
Mhm.
that you didn't finish, but then you jumped to writing a song about not finishing those songs.
Absolutely.
Oh wow!
Yeah. Finish the song. That was so in 2010 when I won the road match. I then came back the next year to go back into the Calypso competition with a song called 2020, which spoke about last year, and Oil and Water. and then which is a song I had composed originally for the Anguilla competition.
Right.
And then in 2012 I came back with By the Breath and finished
I was
the
going to ask
song.
about By the Breath, yeah.
Right, By the Breath and finished the song. And Finish the Song was also written firstly for the Anguilla competition,
Which is the Leeward Island.
the Leeward Island Calypso competition, which I won 3 times.
Yes.
I missed the 4th time by a half a point,
I remember that by
right? By a half a
my
point.
ball.
So
I was there.
you were there, right? You're mixing.
Yeah, they passed.
As
Yeah,
it is,
yeah.
as it
That
is
was a big,
everywhere.
watch it, that was a big thing in the village that night. That was
Yeah.
a big thing.
So
A half a point?
So Finish the Song, right, was because the truth is my parents, my wife, who is my biggest supporter but my biggest critic. When I'm doing a song, all I'm thinking about is what my wife is gonna say, because I know that is either going to be a cut down or a yes, because she's not cutting in the corners and so on. I remember even By the Breath, when I was finishing it, I hadn't done the band chorus yet. I hadn't recorded it yet. I was in Tortola at the time. I took off. I think I took off a day or something like that. Or I may have been on vacation or something. And I know she went to work. When she left, she said, "I ain't cutting it, Konris. I ain't cutting it. I gonna go work." And I worked on it, and by the time she came back, it got her approval, and then I went forward. So she has been my greatest critic and advisor on music. So she would say, "Man, you gotta finish the song," or my father would say, "You gotta finish the song." So I said, well, why not put that into a song? Finish the song.
Finish the song now.
Yep. So that's where we are. So that's the last time I would have written new music. That would be 2012.
Yeah, and the thing is, you've been somewhat of a public figure since like age of 10.
Time.
Since
A
the
long
age of
time.
10, pretty much.
Yep.
And you would have been involved all during that time in youth activities and sports, stuff like that, and then you were Scaniperian and stuff like that, and that led you into what a lot of people would associate you with now, which is politics.
Right.
Right. Tell us about how you really got involved in politics. When did you make the decision to enter that other arena?
Right. So politics has been an intricate part of my family as well. My father, my grandfather and my grandmother and so on were all very involved in terms of the support of the St Kitts and Nevis Labour Party and so on. And at age 6, I remember there was an example in the newspaper of how to vote. And we cut it out, my sister and I, and we voted. That's at age 6. And that is my first recollection of getting in tune with politics at age 6. And then from then, I've always been in tune. So I've followed for instance, every U.S. political election since that, which would be the election of Bill Clinton in 1992, and obviously all of the elections in St. Kitts as well. If you listen to my music and before I entered to politics, it has always been about nation building and uplifting things for young people and so on. Because I find that we are in a very unique position in St. Kitts and Nevis. Meaning that because of our size, some people will see it as a disadvantage, that we are small and so on, etc. But I actually think that our size is a major advantage in terms of improving ourselves politically.
Big time, yeah.
Because you don't have, for instance, I'll just juxtapose to the US, which is a very fair comparison, but there are 500 and something elected members there that run, that cover about 300 million people. So it's very difficult to find global consensus there.
Yeah.
But in a small country like ours, where we have in St. Kitts 8 representatives and 3 in Nevis, if you have a great combination of those people who are set on advancing the cause our social economic causes here in St Kitts, you can make a big difference in a very short
space of time. Yeah.
You know, even when we come down to places like Jamaica that has 2 million people, or Trinidad that has 1 point something million people with different, in Trinidad you have different races, different backgrounds and so on. A public policy could take years to permeate the entire society, but it takes, you know, one cabinet great decision or a bad decision here to have an immediate impact on us. So therefore, I thought that if you congregate or assemble people with the best characters and so on, who have a die-hard interest in advancing St. Kitts, that is where I can now effectuate some of the visions that I had in my own music. And so I wasn't lobbying to become a politician, although in Finish This Song I did make a quip to say that if some people didn't get their act together, I might jump in and run for Prime Minister. But that was just a calypso quip. But it's after that where there was interest because of certain things that were happening in our political party. We had some factions and so on, etc. And so the call came out for me to consider becoming a candidate. I was overseas at the time, although my overseas stint was only going to be temporary because we had always intended to come back home. I really went again to facilitate the advancement of my wife's legal career. She was in the offshore industry in Tortola. And so I made the decision, I took the sacrifice, because being in St. Kitts offered me a lot more opportunities when I had come back from university. I was doing my own, you know, different consulting. I could do my music. I was doing lecturing and so on, etc. So I did take the sacrifice, and we went to Tortola to facilitate my wife's advance, and that has severely paid off for us, that she stayed and got the type of exposure that she did in terms of managing the legal, whatever it is, with the international community. And so we got the call, or I got the call sometime in 2013 to consider becoming a candidate. And it honestly was not my intention to become a political candidate at that age. I was not too long ago married. I didn't have any children. I didn't have our house or our home as yet, because we were still out preparing for those kind of things, saving and so on. So it was a challenging decision to make, but I felt that if I had this passion for nation building, then why not give it a shot and jump in? Because I am not concerned about all the things you hear about politicians. I can't be changed from who I am. My father always told me people don't change, they only become who they really are. And I know who I am, so I know politics could never have an influence on me like that in terms of my morals and my principles. And so it was just a matter of if I'm willing to take that sacrifice to delve all in for nation building. So we made that jump with the support of my wife and my family, and we decided in 2013 that we're going to do it. And so that's how I entered into the political arena.
And at what age this was? Because we know now that you would have run in constituency 3,
right,
and would have been successful at the polls. What age?
So I entered at age, I decided it was probably, I was still 29. So I turned 30 that year. And so I got elected at age 31 to Parliament. So that's fairly young. I was the youngest person running in the last election as well. So it was around age 30 where I got it.
Yeah, and the reason I'm saying that is that I feel that is important to note, because a lot of times we associate politics and politicians as this old man's game. Right. And I really hope to see more youth involvement. And you would have been an example of that. Right. Even now. Yes. So that is something I find very encouraging for young people.
we need to get involved. It doesn't mean always that you get involved at the elective level, because there is so much more to do, whether it is at the youth level, at sniper level, for instance, or just getting involved in political action. Because a lot of people like to say, I don't deal with politics and so on. But the reality is there is nothing that is going to get done without political action. Right? There is no social security. There is no health care. There is no the ability for this radio station to exist. All of these things are political decisions that have to be made. So if you exclude yourself, then you really can't complain about what decisions are being made. So get involved, let your voice be heard, and don't take for granted that you're one voice. One MP won recently in 2015 by 4 votes. That's only 4 voices. That's how important a single voice is. So my thing is get involved, and speak up, speak out against what you see, or whatever you support and whatever you don't support.
So since we're talking about politics, what are your current political aspirations and goals?
Well, first of all, my goals have always been, and they will continue to be. I don't have personal political goals. I don't know if that makes any sense. In that, I don't see politics as an avenue for me to advance myself. I actually resist and resent that, right? I actually enjoy being independent of depending on politics to be able to earn a living, for instance. I see politics as a way to move the people together, or the country together as one. What I mean by that is, so the goals are to achieve the social things that we want to see. Whether it is, as I spoke about, healthcare, or whether it is, for instance, the ability for more people to own their own home, own their land, the ability for young people especially to get into their own businesses and entrepreneurship and so on. And I'm basically securing our future for the many rainy days that are going to come. So my political goals have always been along those lines, just like my calypsos and so on. So anything I do will be to further that political goal. So personally, for instance, some people grow up thinking, oh, well, I want to be the representative for this place, or I want to be prime minister, and those kind of things. Those things to me are as a result, or bonuses and so on, as opposed to what you dare to do to move us together. Remember, I'm saying we are small enough to make big advancements, so let's do it. I have a number of passions, whether it is making us a green energy state, for instance, that we are not dependent on fossil fuels because we have everything we need to do to be able to be independent like that. Whether it is to have food security, the pandemic, I think, has shown the importance of that. And whether it is that we can create wealth for ourselves and our family and generations to come. Those are some of the things that, I still want to see.
Yeah, this is very, very, was intended to go, but because you mentioned it, and I've heard you mention it before, the creating or relieving ourselves from that dependence on fossil fuels. One of the things that is in the news now is the development of the solar farm. You have any thoughts on that, especially seeing as one of the arguments is the involvement of this private company? Do you believe that is something that should be state-owned? Is that something you have thoughts on?
Right. Well, why not go a little further than state-owned? Why not make it an opportunity for locals to own that as well? So without going into, because I haven't looked at all the specifics and so on with that, but it is very important to. I'll use this to explain why I think it's so important to make sure you have the right group of people who are in charge, because you have to make certain decisions that can become generational. I'll just go back a couple of years, make one comparison, and then come forward. In 1975, the then administration under our first national hero sought to nationalize the lands of St Kitts and Nevis. Meaning, before 1975, most of the land in St. Kitts was owned by very few people. Maybe 6 families, I don't even know. The sugar lands did not belong to us. But they made a decision then, which was controversial, that the state must own the land. Now, what did that allow us to do? If you compare us to other Caribbean countries, that the state doesn't own the land, it gave the state although not cash wealth, it gave it asset wealth. And so you can leverage that against developments because the land can't go anywhere. You own it. Yes, it might have been a controversial decision then, but it allowed us to do a number of the things that we did in the 90s when we had the devastating hurricanes and so on. Those are the things that allowed us to be able to, okay, let me take a loan on this, etc. If we didn't make that decision then, if you weren't bold enough to do it then we would not have the ability for the state to have that type of asset power. The same thing we must think of now in terms of our energy capability, right? Such that we invest now, such that we own as much of something like that. Because energy, I have looked at studies where St Kitts and Nevis, whether through geothermal and others, can produce enough energy to provide other islands.
Yeah.
Right? And so we must look at this as how can we empower our own and not just depend on the quick fix of people who are there, right? So that is how I would look at it. As I say, I haven't delved into this particular matter with what's going to happen. But any advancement like this, because energy is an essential need, just like land is essential, energy, our energy, water, and food supply are essential needs, and we need to ensure that we are getting the maximum benefit out of those things.
Yeah, definitely agree.
Yep.
So you understand in the last general election, unfortunately you were unable to secure the seat. And so is there anything or are there things that you would have done differently?
Obviously,
in hindsight.
Of course. I mean, I'm a competitor by nature. I know how to win, and I also understand why you would lose. And one of the things I like to share with people is with the different successes I've had in my life, although it's a short life, whether it's calypso, whether it is academics, whether it is even love or marriage. I've been trying. I've failed a bit with Azem, but I still have hope.
So there's some hope. Okay.
I still have hope.
He's been working.
The thing is, I have learned that I don't practice blaming others. Right? To me, it's short-sighted. To me, it prevents you actually. So, if, for instance, you put a stumbling block in front of me to make me trip, my view is that I didn't fall because you put the block there, but I fell because I didn't step high enough. If you build a wall in front of me, it is not because you built the wall that stopped me from going someplace, but it's because I didn't jump over the wall. So as I look at any failures that I've had, whether it is, as I said, in calypso or academics and so on, I look at it as though I did not do enough. And so my evaluation is, what now can I do more to ensure that doesn't happen again? So yes, over in the last general election, of course, the fact that we lost, although this is not the forum, there are circumstances that were heavily waged against
the opposition. Yeah.
Right. There were many things I could still have done
to try and overcome
differently,
that. Yeah.
right? And to me, that is how we have advanced as a human race. We used to travel by boat. Somebody said, look, man,
it's taking too long.
Yeah. So I got to learn to fly, and that is where the human ingenuity comes from. And that is the approach I take. So the fact that I was not successful this time around, which gives me a 50-50 percentage of winning so far.
Right.
And I want to be on the positive end of winning.
So the 51%.
Yes, it has to be over. In Calypso is 100. I got to get back to there somehow. But the point is that I will be and continue to evaluate what it is that you could do better, regardless of what somebody brings to you. The point is, whatever it is they bring, whether it is money, whether it is bribery, whether it is whatever it is, fooling off, the point is, whatever I do must overcome that.
Do you plan to contest in any carnivals between now and then?
So, now with respect to carnival, we have a big carnival coming up, as far as I know. Right? 50.
Let's
We're
hope so.
making 50. Meaning the
it's big on paper,
anniversary.
yeah.
Big on paper, yeah. And my intent, of course, is to contribute. In terms of competing in Calypso again, I haven't made that decision yet.
Okay.
I'm a young fella still. I mean, how old am I? I'm 37, so I have plenty of time to compete, to do things and so on. But my focus right now is, in a few months, I'm trying to get my studio back up. And do some music, and hopefully I get a track from Azem. He's really holding up things.
Full circle, boy.
You know, really holding up things.
I'll just chalk it up to being Azem fault.
Yeah, and
I apologize to the nation.
And this guy I don't think people understand the immense talent that he has, you know. I think it's
I don't know what you're talking about.
yeah, I don't think people understand.
And Azem, for all we know,
Azem actually has helped me win some of the crowns, you know. Yeah, when I want to ensure that the music sounds right, I call Azem, tell him, look, you're gonna be on the board down there tonight for this competition. A lot of people don't know that.
Wow. So Azem, you may very well be one of the reasons why the esteemed gentleman wasn't able to secure the seat as well. He was stressed out.
Oh boy, that
And
might have been
heartbroken.
He
still has hope in you, you know.
I apologize to the nation.
He still has hope, as it is your fault.
I take full
If
responsibility.
he didn't have that heartbreak on his mind and his soul, he might have been able to overcome.
Well, you know
Shame
what we
on
say
you.
here? What you know we say? He have life.
Yeah, he have life. It could have been worse.
Could have been worse.
Absolutely, could have been worse.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't have that option.
Life?
Yeah.
Oh.
That's a good option, eh?
Yeah, that's a good option.
I think
to
it's the
have,
better of the two.
A lot of people don't have that option at all. We got to be so thankful every day.
Oh boy.
You see what happened yesterday with Tiger. You know, you just,
Oh, yes.
you just every day you got to make every day count. So anybody, if you got somebody who you ain't say something to and is important,
Tell them to them.
say it. You know.
Tell them to them. I
We
like
don't- we
that.
just-
And I also like the quote that your father gave you as well.
Right.
People don't change, they just become who they are.
Yeah.
Tell them so, you know, that people don't change. I don't tell us so.
So
All the time.
let me give you a quick example of that. A man like Nelson Mandela, who went through severe persecution, he had every reason to be rebellious, to be vindictive,
Vengeful.
to be vengeful,
yeah.
and so on, etc. But it was not who he was. So even with absolute power, he just wouldn't come that
Who you
way.
are is who you will
So
be.
when you see politicians or anything act in a particular way, when they become get in position of power, that is just who they are. And
Konris,
and
be careful here. Be careful
This is
here.
off here. This is off here. What he said is off here. I'm warning you.
Konris face just now was like, what?
What he said just now is off here.
Do not reply to anything
no,
as
I,
it
no, I mean,
When there's extra echo in Azim's voice, it is off ear.
okay, understood.
Just a warning.
So you say, I'm
Because he
just
would-
making you respond to something
he
that
would
I'm
But, I
trick
mean,
you
but
in-
there
yeah.
is always a way to respond.
He will trick you into responding to something
There's always
on
a way to
air.
respond.
But
But yeah, so people are just, look, you're not going to take someone who has a high moral compass and be able to infiltrate them. It just don't happen. So when people get disappointed about somebody, oh, but I didn't expect that he gonna think, that is just who the person was.
But you know, question gonna follow now.
No, me no.
You're a smart guy, I believe you know. Because our esteemed former leader, Dr. Douglas, he was recorded saying, I'm a changed man. And I must first let you know that I'm a Christian.
But maybe that's who he was.
That's who he was.
Maybe that's who
The
he
person
was.
who
But do you know, are you aware that Dr. Douglas's siblings are all in faith ministry and so on?
Clergy, yeah.
If Dr. Douglas wasn't a politician, it is quite possible that he would have been a preacher.
As a
That
matter
is
of- I
that is
heard
a
him say that
real
recently.
thing. That is a real thing.
heard him say that recently.
So he has, and a lot of people don't know, but we see it behind the scenes. A lot of people don't know he relies on that significantly. You know, he relies on, and somebody is not a prime minister and so on for that amount of time without having some sort of solid support and backbone and so on. And so a lot of people don't realize that. So, you know, it may sound a little comical because he has been such a strong voice and very, very sometimes aggressive, you would say, and so on. But you know, when it comes down to it, you know, he's not like that.
You're a sweetheart.
So you're
I mean,
no, he's actually really, really sweet. But so within the context of what he was speaking about as being a changed man, do you really believe he's a changed man?
Well, this is what I think it is, or what he was.
Because from what I understand, not to cut out, but from what I understand, you know, with regard to the context of that statement, is people were asking him about his previous, you know, behavior on the platform and thing, and abusing people and thing, right? So another thing that was the context of the conversation is, listen, that's not me anymore. And he as well as Dwyer and Sam and all them actually came out and said, we've spoken, we've healed,
right.
You know, we've forgiven each other, etc., etc.
Right.
So what I'm asking you is, since people don't change,
I'm gonna give you a
do
couple.
you buy any of that?
I'll give you a couple of examples. The same Nelson Mandela who I was speaking of was actually a radical. You know, it is because of that why he ended up in prison, because he thought that was necessary. That was what was necessary to move the country in a particular way. And with Dr. Douglas coming out from where he thought he was bringing, or where we were bringing the country from, and the attacks, I guess, that were coming his way, that was probably the course of action which gave him tremendous
push him to be
success,
who he truly is supposed to be.
But in terms of being changed, you mature. Times also change. You know, the way you express something. For instance, if I released on the Juvenile, I probably wouldn't be the same, right? But that doesn't mean that at that time it wasn't necessary or authentic and so on. But the time is now to be a different way, or that is where someone is in their life. And so I just think that people are evolving into who they really are.
So it's just evolution.
Evolution.
They ain't switching necessarily, but they're evolving.
It's a journey.
It's a journey, and fatherhood.
Indeed. When fatherhood coming?
That's taking a little longer than we anticipated.
Remember when last time we talked, he said it was a few days?
Yeah, and then things happened and set me back.
What was a few days?
Months. My transition, my evolution.
He's transitioning
personally.
into a peaceful man.
Oh, so you're not peaceful?
Not currently, no.
You are actually.
Konris,
you see,
we ain't coming in here and telling lies. We all know this is the most confusion man in the nation.
Relatively speaking, I am peaceful. I've never fought in my life. I've never gotten into trouble and thing. I'm a very peaceful person.
It's just an expression. I think. Look, I don't know him personally that well, but I can read people very well. I don't know if he would kill a mouse.
Let me tell you something. You're really sure you want to bank your reading people's skills on Amali?
I don't think he would kill a mouse.
You're literally discrediting yourself. So tread carefully.
Actually, when I catch mice in my house, I let them free outside.
See there? I tell you.
He's not a cruel person, but Amali is very confusion.
Well,
confusion for you.
Yeah, but that's okay.
But I'm only confusion.
You see, I prefer to know somebody express themselves to their confusion and so on, etc. It is the ones who pretend to be this nice thing and so on, and then when you're in a corner, they jab you, and you know, I could deal with.
Yeah. And I'm only confusion when faced with confusion.
See,
like if you bring it to me, I'll get back harder.
Right.
But I don't just come at you with confusion off the bat.
Yeah, I understand.
I'm a man of love.
I understand. Man watching me. How long you back now?
Yes. The response to that is yes.
Konris,
too long.
Quick question as we wrap up, because time is fast spent. But one of the things that I remember from like just being around when we were younger was the tradition of Saturday mornings at your house. For some reason, it seemed as though your stereo would be stuck on Steel Pulse? Now that you have your own house, is it the same?
Is it still stuck on
You
his
remember that?
Is it still stuck on Steel Pulse?
Yeah, I still want that album. True Democracy album. It is one day when I want to get some. I can't believe you remember. How you know that?
Don't worry about that.
As him old, you know, like
So
700 years old.
He probably know, because if he came by and maybe testing something and a blazing Steel Pulse. Yeah, so
I used to be by Run every Saturday, so that's all.
Right.
People know your offense.
Yeah. So, True Democracy. I actually was introduced to that album by my dad some years ago. He had it there, and then I started to play it, and I was like, man, this is really good stuff. They have Rally Round the Flag there, Ravers, Wanna Live in My House. A whole
classic.
Yeah, a classic. Chant a Psalm a Day. I mean, just how it starts and so on. It's real, and it has a lot of history in it in terms of how they came together, how they were influenced by Jamaican roots or reggae and so on. So, a lot of people know me as Calypso, but I have
a reggae man.
I have a lot of passion for reggae. I had
Come
a
out
lot
and
of
stop
reggae
jam out.
songs.
Come
I had a
out
lot
and
of
stop
reggae
jam
songs that I've never released or anything like that.
You're a fan of Joseph Hill?
No, I don't know who Joseph Hill
From
is.
the band Culture from Jamaica.
Oh, not as much as I am of
Steel Pulse.
Steel Pulse. I've been listening to some Third World recently to some of the things that they've been doing.
The new
Obviously,
album is crazy.
obviously, Bob Marley and so on. I was actually listening for what's the lead? Bunny Ruggs. There's a guy now who sings in Third World that is close to his voice. Bunny Ruggs, right? And I didn't like when Bunny Ruggs was performing this song, Now That We Found Love. In the latter part, he was performing it more similarly to how it was first recorded. I didn't like it too much. I liked when he had the hype when they did the live recording and he was singing in the higher pitches of the song and so on. But this guy is doing it pretty well. The guy who's I don't know his name. I don't know his name, but he's doing it. But yeah, so I listened a lot of that. I started playing drums to learning how to play drums, reggae beat drums and so on, etc. So that's the next thing I'm gonna get. I'm gonna get some drums and
nice.
And
final question. Very curious. You're a big music man and you're into sound. And I know you appreciate good quality sound because you say when you're on stage and you want the sound perfect, you call so mix a lot over here. What kind of
mix a lot of what? Music or rum? What is it?
No, he a drinker.
Oh, okay.
Music and woman. Anyway. What kind of
working on it. I tell you, he's look, you all are going to be surprised
when Azem when you engaged on Facebook one these days.
Yeah, you're gonna be I won't give up. But you were saying,
yes, what kind of stereo do you have in your space where you go and sit down in your nice chair and listen to reggae music?
Right. So right now I do not have the system that I want to have. I just have some Sonos right now.
Okay.
Right.
That's not bad.
But my studio speakers, what are they? Is Focal Point?
Focal?
Yeah.
I like Focal. Yeah.
They're pretty okay. But I haven't heard them for many years now, so I have to pick them up. But yes, so this year I'm gonna be trying to see if I could get to that point. So actually in my new home, I don't have my, it's a process. People see, your new home, I got a big house and not anything, but it's
like the empty rooms.
It's a process.
Step by step.
Halfway inside it finish yet, right? So, it's a process. So I ain't there yet, but and my wife keeps saying, she can't wait till I get the other rooms finished so I could go in there to
own
play
space.
Yes. Because right now we're playing it out in the open on, regular things.
And that's why I asked, because you straight me as a kind of man who have your room with your tower speakers and your surround sound and
eventually I'm gonna get there. I'm gonna pinch those pennies. I'm gonna get there. Just now, because actually I'm trying to I have a studio by my dad. That's where I had it. So I have to move it now because he's really on me. I moved some of this stuff recently. He's really on me. He wants him to go do his own thing and so on, etc. But as I said, my inside of mine ain't finished yet. So that's one project that I have to.
Your father tell you come out and some jam up?
Absolutely. My father doing business,
No, you know.
Doing business. When people look at me, before we moved to our new house, I was living in my father's house, but I was paying rent. I was paying rent downstairs in a small 1-bedroom. The room is smaller than this room in here with 4 of us. And people don't see those things, but 4 of us. Because we know we're working on something a little bigger and so on, etc., etc. So he wants to throw me out. Well, he basically said he's gonna put out this stuff in the rain. So I had to go I went the other day for my speakers and my console and so on to get them out of the way, because literally he will put them out in the rain.
I believe you. He's a kind of guy.
Yeah, he will put them out in the rain.
Yeah, boy.
Because he want to push you. Yes.
Yeah, and there's a song, I can't remember this song, maybe Jade could help me, because she's young. They don't know my story, they just know my song. Yeah, that song, do you?
I do, but I don't remember who
Can't remember who sing it, but that's Konris'
Bailey,
story.
Bailey should.
No, Bailey, listen to them kind of young people music now.
Ain't Jamil. Is Jamil? No, ain't Jamil.
I don't know the name,
It's
but
one of them young boys.
Yeah.
I know the song.
But
Yeah,
that's,
I promise maybe one
they don't
of
know
these
your story,
days,
don't know your song.
a lot of people, one of the things where Azem knows me personally, so people, I get the sense that people see me as this, suit person and very
entitled and silver spoon and
and I mean, it's the furthest thing from the truth, But I guess, as a public figure, sometimes I guess I haven't worked out the balance of that. People are interested to know what you are like, and by being so, private sometimes could be a disadvantage. So, I've said, maybe I just need to
want to tell your story?
Free up a little bit, tell your story.
They're going to be away, man.
Yeah. I can't tell you how he knows about me, but that's
Yeah, let's not.
yeah, we ain't gonna go there.
I have some ideas, but that's for off you.
I could sing the song, I still remember it. But
No, that's going
let's
too far
not.
now. That's
Yeah.
going too far. That's going too far. That's going too far.
Red card?
just know I hold some secret. So
Wow. Kevon got secrets and as he music people with him and friends from by the neighbor? Jesus,
Music
weird.
traveled to my ears, sir.
Oh, so you didn't go
I wasn't
in
peeping.
search of anything?
No, I wasn't people.
Okay.
I used to blaze it loud then because at that time my mother probably wasn't home. She was studying in
Yeah.
Barbados,
Yeah.
and my father wouldn't mind the loud
steel
noise.
pulse, yeah.
So yeah.
There could be anywhere in my thing here.
Wow. Anyway, well, Konris, thank you very much for
Yeah,
joining
man,
us. It was a
definitely.
wonderful conversation.
Yeah, my privilege, my pleasure.
Yes, and we do hope to have you again sometime
Anytime.
in the future to discuss, what's happening for Carnival.
Yeah.
For Sugar
anytime.
Mass 50.
And
It's 50 or
50.
Sugar Mass 50.
Yeah, 50.
Yeah, I want to see you on the stage again.
Yeah, I'll be on the stage again, God's willing.
Because after the election, I see you post a video with you
Everybody talking
pulling the
about
cloth off the mixing slow motion.
that was
I said,
We're
Lord.
all here waiting to see what's going to happen, but it's my
Yeah.
fault.
We played the video.
Yeah.
You played the video?
played
Yeah,
the
yeah, yeah.
But
You-
we didn't know that Azem was the holder.
yeah, we played the video.
Yeah, we're trolling you for sure.
Wait, what? Azem
But
was the holder of the camera?
we didn't have a
No,
we,
the
we didn't have a
holder for the
carnival.
music.
Oh.
Yeah, because after the election, he
Yeah.
pulled
Yeah, I
the-
get it now.
The dusty cloth from after the mixer, and then we hit the guy after
I
that.
misheard.
Yeah, but
Everybody was so excited, like,
music
what?
tech
but
time.
there's no carnival. There was no carnival.
That too.
And there was no Azem sending music.
Yeah, there was no Azem, but there was no carnival, So you have to. One of the things I learned in university very quickly is low stock, high quality. Or you can have high stock, low quality. In my music, I want to have low stock, high quality. So I'm not gonna just put out a song because I'm gonna put out a song.
Right.
I'm gonna put out a song, it must be high quality. Some people put out a lot of songs, and one in between
And the
there
average, yeah.
gonna be high quality. But I like low stock, high quality.
Quality not quantity, basically.
Right.
Okay, amen. Anyway, once again, thank you very much, and we'll have you back to get some more updates.
Yeah, man, definitely.
Yes, and perhaps even to discuss your life. So people can stop
Yeah,
assuming.
man, you know,
People can start wrongfully assuming
that is true. That is true.
that you're
Maybe it's my
privileged and
fault.
uptight. Yeah.
Yes,
yeah.
yes.
Anyway, we've come to the end of the show. It's Hump Day
Hump day.
here in the Federation of St Kitts and Nevis. Wow. It's almost Friday again.
Yep.
I'm very excited. I'm very, very excited. Folks, we're leaving. You know, drive safely. Don't drink too much and drive. I can't tell them don't drink and drive because that's part of who we be.
Would you? No, don't drink and drive. I will say it. Don't drink and drive.
Okay, Konris don't drink and drive, but I am realistic. And I'm speaking to you like adults. If you're drinking, take it easy. If you've had too much, park on the side of the road and sleep. I'll call somebody for you. Discretion. Please use our roundabouts correctly. I see they haven't marked out the one by the airport yet.
And it's working smoothly.
And it's working wonderfully. Shocker.
You mean because it's operating as a one-lane roundabout to a one-lane road? Or
Yes.
who would have
my
thought?
Please indicate when exiting these roundabouts, stay in your lane, figuratively and literally.
Yes.
And please don't overtake people in the roundabout. It's quite dangerous. Also, let us remember to park our vehicles, proper fashion to allow our sanitary workers to collect our trash.
Come out and stop jam up.
Yes, and especially for those guys, thief in a piece, when you park by the lady's house,
Yeah, man.
please don't park
Why
selfishly.
you trying thing on Azem now?
Oh my God.
I don't understand this. I don't understand this.
As he uses hotels.
Oh, wow. Wow. Classy.
Yeah, man.
I'll step up in a
Yeah,
life.
man. Yeah, man. Because anyway, that's a different story. Anyway. Yes, and yeah. So please park your cars in a good fashion, so the folks can collect our trash and keep our country clean and healthy. Also, let us please advocate for the updating and the revision of our laws, the electoral laws, the traffic laws, all the laws that were written in the 1960s that have recently, become
Outdated.
basically irrelevant and not fitting and not appropriate for our current day life here in the Federation of St Kitts and Nevis. Also, the laws that pertain to sexual offences and sexual conduct among folks who are underaged.
Justice for Jack one.
Justice for Jack one.
Right.
And now I'll turn it over to the Master of Ceremonies to close us off with his very important words, Honourable His Excellency Sir Kevon Ellsworth Emmanuel Hanley. You have the floor.
Thank you. So remember, you can't be everybody's cup of tea because you is not a mug. Goodbye.